You have some people in this world who are really talented, and they change the game, so to speak. They change how you view content, how you receive content. I put it like this: there are once in a lifetime people. You have in the NBA, you would say Steph Curry is a once in a lifetime person. He changed the game, the way that it's fundamentally played. Another person like that will be obviously Mark Price, even though he doesn't get any credit for it. He is the king of the pick and roll. And honestly, the pick and roll was brought to you by Mark Price, and no one would ever give him the credit to be the author of it. But he is, without a doubt, one of those authors. The way that quarterbacks are looked at today, you look at Tom Brady, and you'll see so many things about him that is what made quarterbacks. But when Mike Vick came along, all of a sudden the way that quarterbacks were looked at, the scrambler quarterback became a thing, and they wasn't just a pocket passer anymore. He just didn't stay in the pocket. A quarterback could run like a wide receiver or like a running back. In rap, you can see how like Kanye changed the game. They're game changers. Well, Jill Scott was a game changer. Yeah, Neo Soul was at its highest point in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I remember when the change happened, and I remember you had your Mary J. Blige, yes, but Jill Scott and India Arie and you could say even Erykah Badu changed how, you perceived, music. Yeah, India had the guitar, and girls got guitars after that. Floetry had the voice and the poetry, but Jill Scott had the voice. She had the talent. She didn't need to dance because she could just stand with a mic, and she could sing her butt off. Erykah Badu is good. She's great. But she was really more so a hip-hop type person. She was known more so for the conscious type culture, like. But Jill was something else. Jill in her prime, like musically, her prime, like when she was putting out music every other week, like no one could beat Jill Scott. She was writing for people that you didn't even know she was writing for. She was composing music you didn't even know was Jill Scott, Some people still don't know that, yeah, Erykah Badu was the one singing the song, but it was Jill Scott and You Got Me by the Roots that wrote that. So when I say this with all due respect to Jill Scott, and I'm trying not to laugh, because I want to be serious. I want to be honest about this. Today I woke up and, I woke up to see one of the greatest of all time. See, when you have a greatest of all time, there's something else about the greatest of all time that I have to get out. The greatest of all time doesn't have to change their game. The game changes for them. The greatest of all time doesn't need to be something different, They can improve in areas, like good example. LeBron's an all-around player. He's one of the best NBA players of all time. Did he change the game, really? A little bit, maybe a little bit. You start trying to find a more all-around player to be on your team. It's good to have that type of guy on your team, but fundamentally, you still don't need a LeBron James to win a championship because Golden State proved it. They just got guys who are good at what they do. Look at how LeBron James, now, even though he is still technically in his prime, not completely out of his prime, definitely at the tail end of getting to the tail end of his career, but he even knows that this NBA has changed. It is not the NBA he started in. Steph Curry changed the game. And even if Steph Curry tomorrow wanted to start driving the lane, he doesn't need to, because Steph Curry is one of the best shooters that the NBA has ever seen, and it has recreated the three-point line, that the three-point line is now prevalent. And not only prevalent, teams are building their teams to be smaller so that they can be more agile and they can shoot more shots. Because they realize, hey, guess what? The three-point line is becoming a layup for some people. You know, even how, Marshawn Lynch, he changed up how a running back could be looked at. Gronkowski changed up how a tight end can be looked at. A tight end can be more than just a guy to hold someone back. He can actually run the ball. Not only can he run the ball, he can run slat routes and all of these different things. Gronkowski changed the game of football forever. And whether you like him or not, hate him or not, Tom Brady changed how quarterbacks were going to be played. Aaron Rodgers changed it. Russell Wilson changed it. And in music, you can even see how, Snoop is a forever musician. He didn't have to change his sound. He didn't have to change how he raps. He didn't even have to do anything but be Snoop. Why? Because Snoop Dogg is what he is. The greatest of all time does not have to change what is good about them to appease to other people. The game changes for them. They do not have to change their game. Jill Scott. Now, I will preface this by, as a fan of Jill Scott, a hardcore fan of Jill Scott. I love a plus size woman every now and again. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like skinny girls too much. That ain't my thing. Everybody got their thing, right? So this ain't me talking about her size. Jill Scott is one of the most talented musicians of the 21st century. I said it. I'll say it again. Jill Scott is one of the most talented musicians, if not the most talented musician of the 21st century. She is the game changer. Neo Soul may have been big with Erykah Badu. It may have been big with India Arie. But none of them outlast Jill Scott. Jill Scott is one of the greatest musicians, greatest singers, writers of all time, period. So for her to need, Janet Jackson is one of the best performers of all time. So great that she could pull a man on stage, perform physical acts on him, and he will do almost passed out at her concert. That was her thing. She knew sensually that she had that ability, and she used it to her advantage. Because believe it or not, Janet is not the best singer. But you're not going to a Janet Jackson concert for her to be the best singer. You're there for her to be the best performer. Jill Scott, on the other hand, is one of the best singers of this generation, if not the best. Okay? Just downright the best. She changed the game. Yeah, you have Erykah Badu, who everybody wanted to look like. put the scarf on their head. But really, when it came down to fundamental sound, to the big bold sounding voice, the beautiful hair, and the look, Jill Scott is what they're talking about. When they say neo soul, they're not talking so much about Erykah Badu as much as they're talking about Jill Scott. Yeah, my sound. Okay. Yeah, you have to credit. Sorry about that. Yeah, you have to credit people for what they're good at. But you cannot tell me that Jill Scott is not known to be one of the best musicians of all time, musically. When you go to the black woman who can sing, Jill Scott's face is what they're doing. Her image is what they're trying to portray. One thing I loved about Jill Scott was she was wholesome, but you could tell she had something else to her. And that's what her music kind of conveyed. Yeah, you would listen to songs like Let's Take a Long Walk Around the Park, after dark. But in another song like Crown Royal, she would say, she would give a description, and she would be very vivid with her description about Crown Royal, but we knew that Crown Royal was not what she was talking about. Yeah, if you want to talk about Crown Royal and you're alcoholic, or you just love the taste of Crown Royal, that might be what you're thinking about, but really, she wasn't talking about Crown Royal at all. She talked about how her love was deeper, tighter, sweeter, she was talking about that. So don't act like Jill Scott was just your wholesome girl. That was just your PG-13 girl. However, Jill Scott never needed to come on stage and show sexuality. She never needed it. Why? Because Jill Scott is the greatest of all time. The game changed for Jill Scott. She didn't change for it. So when I say this as her fan, not as a person that's criticizing her. Because honestly, this is not a critique, because I know Jill Scott's music. So I'm not surprised about what she thinks or how she expresses herself. She's not in gospel music, so this is not a gospel woman that is showing off gospel skills. That's not what she was doing at all. She never has. So if that is what you are thinking about her, then you're wrong there. But do I believe Jill Scott needed to take these actions? No. Jill Scott doesn't need to do this. Her image doesn't need it. She doesn't have to re-image herself. She doesn't have to change the game. She doesn't have to reinvent herself. Because Jill, you are always been Jill Scott. And everyone else has just been a copy. Over 20 years of good music. You don't need this. You don't have to do this. You're the greatest. You don't have to go this far. Performing fellatio on a mic, I don't understand what that really gives you. I don't understand what you benefit from it. I don't know how this, other than us talking about you. But that's just me. And to me, you're coming to elder status. To me, it gives credence to people like Tommy Sotomayor. It gives what he says credence about black women. Why would you want these ideas to be floated out there about you? I always thought, from your music, you were always about intimacy. Seduction, yeah. Smooth. Does Jill Scott have one of the most smooth voices in music? Absolutely. Does she have one of the best catalogs? Absolutely. To me, she's underrated when it comes down to awards. She should have won way more awards than what she actually has. So when I say Jill Scott doesn't need this, I really do mean she doesn't need this. And I know this video is longer than what I wanted to make it. It's over 15 minutes long. I didn't want to go this long. But I felt the need to actually just make this an actual video and take it seriously. I'm going to be honest, it took me about 3 times to record this video. Because I had to get the laughs out first, because I had 1,000 jokes. I had to put the respect value back into this video, because honestly, I don't want to. What I want to convey is that great people don't have to do sloppy things, and that was kind of sloppy and tacky. That's all I'm saying. And you can come to my channel and tell me, oh, well, the women don't deserve this. Oh, well, she has the right to express herself in any way she feels. And I absolutely agree. But I also believe that, certain things from certain women just doesn't look right, and it just doesn't look right coming from her, because I think she's better than that. And honestly, the type of woman that I love, the type of black woman that I love, because I love black women. I'm sorry, that's my first choice in life, And when I look at black women, she's one of those images of a black woman I've always had. So when I see her kind of belittling herself to that level, it just makes me ask the question why she would need to do so, because I think someone like her deserves better than that. And that's just me. You may feel otherwise, and you have the right to your opinion. That's why you come here. And if you want to give that opinion, there's a comment section right there at the bottom that you can give all of this information, and I want to hear from you anyway. So why not just tell me what you think? Why not tell me you're wrong, you idiot, and you're a big chauvinistic guy? You want to say this to me, and there's a comment section for that. Or not. It's up to you. In any case, I am the Big Ox Uchia, and this channel is not done yet. We got a lot more show to go with, and I plan on having a good time today, running through some things and seeing what else I can get myself into on this early Wednesday morning. Stay tuned.